This is NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. Film review of NAIA football games is brought to you by Huddle. Huddle connects us with the teams so we can see all the coaches' game film and give you in-depth analysis on NAIA football. This program also airs on the Urban Edge Network. Download the Urban Edge Network app for all the NAIA championship events, regular game days, and a whole lot more. You can see all of the NAIA on the Urban Edge Network. Download the app now. This program is part of all the great coverage on the VictorySportsNetwork.com for all the latest in NAIA football and other sports. Check out VictorySportsNetwork.com.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is John Gruden, the old coach, down here in Tampa, Florida, just studying some football. And I just got to tell you, there is nobody covering NAIA football like the Victory Sports Network. Nobody. They've been doing it for over 20 years, and they know how great football is at this level. Now let's get going. Here is NAIA football with Dannelly and Donley. Let's go.
NAIA football is the true version of what college football is supposed to be. And it is the best classroom experience an 18 to 22-year-old male can have. One of the most valuable parts of a college education is that experience. It's life in a microcosm, and it's just something special for a young man to have to experience.
And don't you let a moment go without thinking about what's there for you to reach out and grasp.
This is the Victory Sports Network's NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. I'm Jason Dannelly. Thanks, and welcome into another week of NAIA Football from the Victory Sports Network as we head into the NAIA Championship Series. Round 1 is behind us. Round 2 is coming up next Saturday. We had some really good football games this last weekend that we need to break down. No real upsets, but some games that maybe were a little closer to comfort than what some of these programs maybe wanted in their first game of the year. To help me break it down is two-time national championship assistant coach, offensive coordinator, a guy that's been around the game for 25, 30 years. He's just been doing it. He is Pat Donley. Pat, I gave you a promotion there. How about that?
I would take in the pay raise for sure.
Yeah,
I've been all right.
Sure.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, some decent games yesterday. Not really big surprises, but some good games. Hey, it's football season, man. Playoff football season. Not all bad. Hey, Jason, do we have 15,000 watching tonight?
Let me check.
Probably not.
No, the number is significantly fewer, but for all of our regulars that are back in checking us out this week, we appreciate you coming back and all that riffraff that was here last week coming in, mucking up the chat. The regulars, you can get back to asking us questions. And if we picked up some newbies that want to check us out every week, drop questions in the chat. We'll get to them as we see fit. We want to go through the 4 games that happened yesterday, and then, of course, the 8 games that are happening this next weekend. Pat, before we go through it, most exciting game from yesterday. What would you say the most exciting game from yesterday was?
Well, I'm an offensive guy. I like the ball being moved up and down the field. I think the finish, obviously, Evangel USF by the circumstances of things.
Yes. Most exciting finish. They win that.
Yes. I did think it was an exciting game overall. Mm-hmm. I would say I thought the St. Thomas Carroll game was fun to watch up and down the field. I thought both teams played fairly well offensively, made some plays on defense too. I thought the pass rushes for both teams were very good, and Carroll, created some turnovers. I would say that's probably the most fun game to watch, but obviously the finish of the St. Francis Evangel game, I think, was the most probably exciting finish.
Yeah, that game went down to the final second. But like you said, the game itself wasn't like, oh, wow, getting up and down the field. Here we go. It's like it was a grind. It was a grind. We'll get to that. I would agree with you on Carroll St. Thomas, onside kick at the end to try to get the ball back. They kicked the field goal with, 15 seconds left, 30 seconds, 23, something like that. Kicked the field goal to get the points. Now they got to score a touchdown, get the onside kick. Very exciting. Plus, they were going up and down the field. You get a turnover, the ball go the other way. I mean, that was definitely an exciting game. Really only one game out of the 4, the William Penn Texas Wesleyan, was kind of like, okay, William Penn's the better team. They're going to win this. They got to play all 4 quarters. I mean, Texas Wesleyan, came out, turned the ball over, William Penn got a score off of one of those. Destin Loring had a great game again yesterday, as we expected from him. Really just wasn't a game that just made me go, wow, NAIA football postseason, here we go. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the one that was over there in your neck of the woods. St. Francis hosted Evangel. When I wrote my Around the Nation article last week, the one game that I said, I think if there's going to be an upset in the first round, it's this one. I could see Evangel knocking off St. Francis at home, but I still picked St. Francis, and they basically proved me right. I mean, Evangel led 12-10 late in the game. They got a safety to go up 12-10. St. Francis goes down, gets the field goal, and Evangel drives the field, man, gets all the way down to the 2-yard line, kind of has a point-blank field goal to win it, and it goes right. And St. Francis escapes with the victory in this one to advance on to play Grandview University. What were your thoughts on this one, Pat?
Yeah, I mean, you got to tip your cap to Evangel. I thought they were resilient. I thought they had a ton of fight. I thought overall they executed fairly well. I know it's not a high-scoring game, but they had some production offensively. It was kind of hard for both offenses to sustain long drives and put points on the board. It just kind of was one of those games. It was great weather here. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like should have been a struggle, but the defenses played fairly well, I guess. It was not an overall must see, this is just the best football game I've ever watched. Exciting. But obviously at the end it was. And St. Francis is a team right now. They're finding ways to win. And a team that's playing confidently and maybe a little bit lucky, puts themselves in a situation. There was a great rush on that field goal try, 26-yard field goal. There's a really good rush. It didn't appear there was a finger or a hand that touched that ball, but it was pushed right. But there was a pretty good rush on that kick, and it was pushed. So they don't ask how, Jason. The Cougs win, and good football teams find ways to win. And it was a really good last drive for them to kick the field goal. Again, Evangel comes back, puts himself in a chance, an opportunity to win with 2 seconds left, and didn't get it done. But again, it's a win for the Cougs at home, and they get an all expenses expenses paid trip to Des Moines, Iowa, to play the defending national champions.
It'll be an interesting week, and we'll get down to the analysis of that one just a little bit. But I want to talk a little bit about Evangel. Real nice season for the Valor. Eric Williams, over 100 yards in this game. Reed Potts did a good job, 29 of 47 for 221 and a touchdown. And he really dinked and dunked. If you just looked at the flow of this game and how the offense flowed and moved the ball, you would have thought Evangel was up by 2 scores in this game. Just the way they moved the ball better for the majority of the game than USF did. But like you said, USF found ways to win. And, I kind of joked around on X yesterday or Twitter that, the cardiac Cougars find the way to win. And then I kind of remembered going through the analysis of this game, and you go through the season for USF, a 3-point loss to Campbellsville, a 1-point win over Siena Heights, a 3-point win over Defiance, a 1-point win over St. Xavier, this 1-point win over Evangel, and then beating Olivet Nazarene by 8. So in a tight game like this, that iron sharpens iron, that whole thing through the season, them pulling out those games in the season, ultimately, I think is what allowed them to get this victory over Evangel. So it was a nice win for USF.
Yeah, for sure. And they've got some older guys, Jason. I mean, Josh Kolka is a senior. Ajay Dandridge was there when I was there, Jason. I've been out 4 seasons. I mean, he's an older player. Bronson Coy was the offensive lineman of the year of the Mid-States Football Association, their tackle. He was there when I was there. So these are older players that have been around there. So there's some really good leadership with that team. And they've got really good core group of veteran players. There's a guy, Garrett Yoon, Jason, that was the backup quarterback that had to come in when Kolka got knocked out and led the Cougars to a touchdown drive before half. Young man I recruited, one of the last recruits I had 4 years ago, senior backup quarterback who's a tremendous player, one of the best backup quarterbacks in the nation, in my opinion, and led the Cougs to a crucial touchdown before the half. That doesn't happen, Jason. They don't move on. And how valuable is he right now? So, I mean, there's a really good core group of veteran players on that team that really made things happen yesterday when it mattered the most.
Yeah, and Drew Wheat coming back after the injury. Nice to see him back playing again, too. A nice little 2-headed monster in the backfield. Got a comment for you. This one coming from David Yoder, St. Francis. Evangel quarterback like he made the bro gill noise when throwing. Pat knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, David Yoder is one of a kind. If you know David Yoder, former USF quarterback and quarterback coach for a few years. You remember David Yoder, don't you, Jason?
I remember David Yoder. Yeah, I remember
there's
David
only one David Yoder in the world, and I have the pleasure of knowing him and coached him. I
love it.
I got the joke, Jason or David. There you go.
St. Francis did get both of the players of the game in every NAIA Championship Series game. They give offensive and defensive MVPs. Both of them went to St. Francis players. Dandridge and Johnson getting it for their primetime performance, brought to you by Blue Diamond Almonds. We move on to the next game, Reinhardt and Southeastern, an equally as close game. Southeastern kind of controlled this game early on. They were up 21-10 at halftime, Pat. And the thing that impressed me about Southeastern in this game is we've known they've got a really good defense and they've run the ball really well, but their passing in this game was at a level that really I had not seen in a big game this year. So it was nice to see the firing on all cylinders, if you will, to get this victory over Reinhardt. Reinhardt did have an opportunity late. Jock Colbert, 53-yard run with 4:32 left. The 2-point conversion failed. That would have tied it. Then Southeastern got the ball back and just kind of, took the air out of it. And they did not allow Reinhardt to get the ball back. The third quarter of this game was a lot of that too. Just teams going back and forth, no points scored whatsoever, just teams grinding against one another. And that gave Reinhardt a chance. And if there's anything I think we found from this game, Reinhardt, quality team, deserved to be in the NAIA Championship Series. They had a tough schedule this year, and they competed with the second best team in the Sun Conference on the road to the very end. I mean, this was a hard-fought victory for Southeastern to pull this one out, Pat.
Yeah, I'm following this game, Jason. I did not, the Sun Conference had to pay money to watch the game. It irritates me.
I got a pass. I got to watch it. Sorry. They told me I couldn't share it. My bad.
Yeah, no big deal. You're a big timer. I was following it though. Yeah, I mean, I watched the first round, the first time these teams played, and I thought, that was the time I thought Southeastern really kind of turned heads, like we mentioned last week, with what they had, this season from a personnel standpoint, because we know what Reinhardt has, tremendous speed and skill, and another classic game, and you could see, following this game, it's like, Southeastern's up with 21-10. Kind of a stalemate in the third, like you said, and really there's a fight there at the end for Reinhardt to get back into that thing and make it really, really interesting at the end. But yeah, it's good to see, I think the role of Nate Michael as a dual threat player and really, incredibly productive in the passing game in this game, which is a great sign, I think, for Southeastern, moving to the next round, that he truly is that great dual threat player. Tell you what, I mean, you got a guy like that, you got a chance, and he certainly is that.
Yeah, David Pomalis really came, I don't want to say out of the woodwork. He's been a pretty good player for SEU all season, but a big game, big performance for him. 7 catches, 149 yards, a nice win. Just going back, to how this game ended, at the 4:32 mark, Reinhardt scores. They miss the 2-point conversion. I mean, 4 minutes, that's a world of time. You get a stop on defense, you get the ball back. No reason to onside kick. But Southeastern ended up just grinding it out, 8 plays for 60 yards, 4:21 off the clock to win this game. And the one thing that comes back is right at the end of the game, they kind of got a little chippy. Reinhardt player got ejected. Southeastern player got ejected. So by the letter of the law, he's probably out for the next game too. Now, unless there's an appeal or blah, 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 they do all that. But that was one thing at the end of this game that probably did not go Southeastern's way, is to lose a key player right at the end of the game before they advance on to play Keiser University. So we'll get to see, Southeastern, you get all right, we got our first postseason victory. That's awesome. It was against the team we rematched against. So now we go to the second round. And who do we get to play in the championships? Oh, we're going to rematch a team from our own conference again. Never fun, but hey, you got to beat them all anyway if you're going to win a national championship.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, they played Keiser better than anybody all year.
They did.
I think there's a blueprint there. I think I thought their game plan was tremendous, Jason. It was like 4 weeks ago they played. I thought it was really, really good. I think there's a lot of elements they'll go back into it again with this, approach this upcoming week. And I think Nate Michael's playing pretty sharp throwing the football right now. So, they have a chance, Jason. I mean, I really do. I'm not saying it's a great one, but I think they certainly do have a chance. and they have players to match up with Keiser to some level. And they certainly proved that they were within. I mean, it was like 4 minutes ago, Jason. I think it was a 1-score game or a 3-point game, if I remember correctly, 3 or 4 weeks ago. I mean, it was down to the wire. So in theory, the Fire have a chance in this game. And again, there's no travel concerns, and there's no like really anything too crazy from that standpoint. They're obviously familiar with one another. It's a 3-hour trip, 2.5-hour trip, not a big deal. So it's gonna be a classic. I think it'd be a great football game next Saturday.
Yeah, at the start of the fourth quarter, and like I said, we'll talk more about it later on here. But at the start of the fourth quarter, the last time that Southeastern and Keiser played, it was 20-17. Keiser scored, and then with 3:44 left, Keiser scored to go up 27-17, and then turned around, had an interception return for a touchdown to go up 34-17. So it in reality, it was a 3-point game, and a game that Southeastern actually led in into the better part of the first half and into the second half. So it'll be interesting. We'll break it more down here in a little bit. Southeastern had both of the MVPs from the game, Nate Michael on the offensive side, and Thomas Ibrahim, who is just an absolute force inside. One of the best defensive linemen in the NAIA. I mean, All-American teams don't come out for a while, but I can guarantee you he's going to end up being on the Victory Sports Network one. I don't know how the coaches will do theirs, but a very good chance of that. So we move on to the one game that early on you could tell William Penn was just better than Texas Wesleyan. They got up, had a 21-3 score at halftime. They got up 14-0, and Texas Wesleyan just really wasn't moving the ball, Pat. They just weren't able to get things done. And unfortunately for the Rams, who made the postseason and were looking for that first victory in the postseason, it just was not going to happen in Oskaloosa, Iowa yesterday. You look at the total offense there for William Penn, only 274 yards. You might kind of think, oh, geez, what happened in this game? Turnovers happened. And William Penn got a score off of a turnover. And then they had the short field because of a lot of turnovers. And they didn't have to put up a lot of yards to get those 38 points, Pat. And the Statesmen looked really good yesterday, and they'll get to go up against Friends now in the next round.
Statesmen look really good, Jason. Tons of turnovers, 6 turnovers forced. I think it was the first possession was a fumble, led to a score shortly thereafter. A great run by Destin Loring, just unbelievable outside zone run, hits the edge. I'll tell you what, that guy's got a gear, Jason, and he doesn't need a lot of space. He can hit a crack and go. A tremendous player. We saw really good things from him yesterday. And, here we are in week, this is their 11th game of the season. It looks like he's getting stronger, Jason. For a running back, that's rare at this time of the season. He looks incredibly strong, has that extra gear. Really impressed with him, impressed with their offensive line. So they did a wonderful job, really overwhelmed Texas Wesleyan. And it seemed like the Statesmen just capitalized on every single Texas Wesleyan mistake. And I'll tell you, Jason, kind of looking ahead here a little bit to this great matchup here with Friends. I think the Statesmen, Jason, they're really athletic and very, very fast and great run support safeties, which you have to have playing a triple option team. I like this matchup in theory with the personnel that William Penn has. I thought those safeties, Jason, I know it's a totally different system what Texas Wesleyan has. They were playmakers yesterday. I mean, really did a great job jumping routes in the passing game. Obviously, I know Friends is not going to throw the ball. I understand that. But these guys are athletic guys that can run, and they are aggressive players. They tackle well. So I'm just looking at it from a standpoint, yes, I know the systems are not even close to one another. But I'm just looking at those safeties, those third-level guys, the guys that have to support, they're going to be playing Friends this weekend. Say they got some guys back there, Jason, I think could get some things done, at least in theory, have a chance to defend this triple option here next week. In theory, they have some guys back there. I love William Penn's team. This is going to be the best team I think Friends has played all year by far. I think it's a good football team in Oskaloosa, Iowa.
I would agree. I think the Statesmen have continued to prove that they're the second best team in their league, only behind the defending national champion. They beat everybody else this year. They found a way to win in a couple games where things maybe got a little close for them, but they found ways to win. Their offensive and defensive line play very good. They get pressure on the quarterback. They get pressure in the backfield. And like you said, we're not going to worry too much about guys dropping back and passing this week in that Friends offense, but just knowing that they have that sort of pressure, that sort of push up front, it'll be a matchup for Friends. And I do think, Friends is the better team in that game, but if turnovers happen, if William Penn gets going with their run game, if Sterling Ramsey is efficient, he didn't look outstanding in this game at 8 for 20 and throwing 2 interceptions, but he does a lot of things really well in managing this offense for the Statesmen. And I think that'll be crucial this coming Saturday. We'll talk more about that. We'll talk a little bit about Texas Wesleyan before we wrap things up. The Rams were just outmatched in this game. They just, they threw some balls. I'm sure they would like to get back. They didn't run the ball quite the way that they wanted to. We can make a lot of excuses, but William Penn was just the better team yesterday. And, I think compared to where Texas Wesleyan was a year ago, due to graduation and health and injury and things like that, maybe they weren't quite where they were a year ago, but they're still, the best team in their conference. And I think they're still a team when you talk about the rising tide of NAIA football that we put into that conversation. They're obviously recruiting the Fort Worth and the Dallas area. They've got all of Texas there. So they've got a real chance to start making some runs in the NAIA, but they have to continue to do what they did this year with their schedule, and that's go outside of the conference and find high-quality competition to go up against, whether that's D3, D2, FCS, another NAIA school. If you could get a non-conference game with a Hart school or another Mid-South school, do it up because those are the sort of things that's going to make you better and prepare you for games like this. Because unfortunately, there's about half of that Sooner Athletic Conference right now that is not giving Texas Wesleyan the look they need for when they go into a game like this against William Penn. It's just, fact of the matter. They get that look from Ottawa, Arizona. They get that look from Louisiana Christian. They kind of get that look from Langston. And then after that, it's a lot of you're the better team. You should win this game unless everything just falls out. So great season by Texas Wesleyan. They finished 7-5. They're done, and they go to the drawing board for the next year. And William Penn advances on to play Friends. We'll break that game down a little bit. Destin Lauren gets the offensive MVP. Jeremiah Denard gets the defensive MVP. He had a pick 6. So he was putting points on the board there. All right, into what I consider to be probably the most entertaining game of the day, and we mentioned it earlier. Carroll College gets the win over St. Thomas. St. Thomas battled in this one, man, and I was impressed with how physical they played, how they ran the ball. I've kind of been on them a good portion of the year about their run game, and we don't have the statistics up there right now. I'll pull them up, but when they needed to run the football, they were going for impact. They were going for contact. They were running the ball pretty well, and unfortunately for them, they just ran into the team that was a little bit better yesterday, I should say, in Carroll College.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. We can start a lot of different places. I'm going to start with Carroll's defense. Man, they really can create turnovers, Jason. I think Rolandi is fantastic. He's asked to do a lot. He was the Frontier Player of the Year on defense, and he played like it yesterday. In their pressure schemes, Jason, I really kind of watched him a little bit more. He got that accolade. I've watched him all year, but I really kind of focused more on the personnel in this game. He's asked to do a lot because with their pressure schemes, he's the guy that kind of makes things right in the back end. So when they're blitzing people, Jason, he's kind of called low hole fill. So he's filling for the linebackers that are blitzing. So he plays the coverage, sometimes even man coverage, picking up defenders or receivers, and he's asked to do a lot. I'd tell you what, Jason, he made a ton of plays yesterday. Just tremendous. And made tackles when it mattered the most. He had to pick up, these great receivers. They create so many different opportunities off turnovers. I mean, think about the first score. I mean, again, just a situation where had an interception, short field. Caden Hewitt runs for a big first down. A couple plays later, early score, 7-0 Carroll. Really kind of set the tone. And like you said, you see St. Thomas come back and battle throughout. But the thing that I recognize the entire day, I think, is Carroll's defense, just putting that offense in an advantageous position time and time again. And I got one more thing to say on that is the return game of Sullivan. Is another guy. Good Irish lad, Sullivan, Connor Sullivan. Just fantastic. Defense and special teams, Jason, I'm going to say it. I think won the game for Carroll College because think about the play before the half. What started that, Jason? All got to midfield because of Sullivan's return, had an opportunity to Hail Mary pass as time expired to get the ball thrown to that length. I mean, they're at midfield. Hewitt can make that throw. He can't make it 30 yards further. Sullivan got to midfield. Hail Mary pass got to the end zone. They score. I mean, that's a big-time deal, man.
That was a big time play that I missed initially live after St. Thomas scored and went up there, and there was only a couple seconds left. I loaded myself up, decided I was going to go to the gym, work out, watch the second half there. So I was in transition from house to vehicle, and then I flipped it on my phone. I'm like, you idiot!
How'd
So I
that
missed
happen?
that. But I was able to go back because I was able to kind of replay
Well, you're
the
probably
game.
wondering how the heck how did it happen. I mean, 2
Yeah.
seconds left. Sullivan takes it to the 50-yard line, gets tackled inbounds, and it's one shot. And Hewitt got flushed to the right and kind of threw it on the run. Really is kind of really difficult throw to his right on the run, gets it down there, and it gets deflected, I think, twice, and then caught. Just an unbelievable play. And then look at the final score, Jason. I mean, so there's some crazy things that happen with Carroll causing turnovers, creating turnovers, and then the return game. I mean, it was really a big deal. And you have to tip your cap to St. Thomas for the resolve of keeping the fight. That's a difficult situation going that far. What is that? 2,400 miles, 2,500
whatever
miles?
it is.
It's a long trip.
It's a long plane flight, so it's be a hell of a drive.
And by the way, I love the Florida guys going out there. I see the coaching staff with no sleeves and stuff on. I mean, come on, guys. It's still in the 40s. We get it. We get it. Okay, we get it. Like, all right. But still, I love the real Florida guys that are literally covered like in the full Under Armour like headgear.
Got the whole neck thing on, helmet on, not moving the entire game.
And it's like 47. It cracks me.
Yeah.
Anyway, here nor there. But the point is, that's a tough circumstance. That's a tough road trip. And I think St. Thomas played a very, very good football game. I thought Keely Watson played well. It's just one of those things where, I think both defenses played well. Again, there's points given up, but they had their moments. It's a good football game. It's a good playoff game. I enjoyed it because there was some offense and there's playmaking on both sides on defense as well. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, Carroll College found ways to win a good home playoff game.
Yeah, going back to St. Thomas, and I'll talk about Carroll here. I mean, I've watched a lot of St. Thomas football this year because they've been in some big games. That's one of the best performances I've seen St. Thomas put on this season. And unfortunately for them, it was in a loss. But I think it gives you confidence going into postseason, and it sucks going out and having somebody like me say like, "Oh, but you guys played really good. You should be proud of yourself." They're like, "Yeah, but we lost." And shut up, Dannelly. Go do a podcast. But Keely Watson, 34-61 of this game, just 381 yards. He looked really good. A very nice wide receiver core in Jaden Fox-Harrington and David Hayes. We've talked about those guys a lot this year. Both those guys got into the end zone. Just St. Thomas played well in this game, and it was great to see them be so competitive at Carroll College. Now, Saints fans, I understand it was Cat Grizz yesterday, but when you get Nelson Stadium for a postseason game and that's your crowd, come on.
You're talking to two guys that know that crowd.
Yeah.
We've experienced it. I've not experienced as much as you have, but I've been there many times.
Yes.
And come on.
I know.
Cotton Eye Joe cranked up. Get Cotton Eye Joe cranking up. Let's go.
Yeah. Let's do this. Unfortunately, next week they will not be at home. They'll be traveling to Montana Tech and get to play in probably the best environment there will be for an NAIA postseason game next week. You figure that two teams 60 miles apart from one another, already a rivalry, playing in the second round of the NAIA postseason. I even had a comment earlier about that. Throw the records and seedings out with Montana Tech and Carroll. Will be a battle with only 60 miles separating the schools. Always a slugfest. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Carroll looked good yesterday. I like the way Reinhardt ran the ball. I like the way Hewitt distributed it, throwing the ball. Ackelson did a nice job getting open. Ochoa did a nice job getting open. Wilkinson, same. I mean, all the things started hitting for Carroll last week that we really hadn't seen in a couple weeks. I mean, definitely not against Eastern Oregon, their final game. They had glimpses of that against Southern Oregon, thankfully. Otherwise, they would have lost that game. So now we're seeing that momentum. We're seeing that all happen, and you're going into a huge game this week against Montana Tech. We'll talk a lot about that game here in just a little bit. All right. Minert, offensive player of the game. Orlandi, no surprise, defensive player of the game. I went back and watched his interception return. I don't know. He might have got in, man. He might.
I agree.
I think he probably should have 6 with him there. So that's our rundown of all the games. See if we got any more comments here. One more comment came up. Yeah, St. Thomas represented well. Carroll always tough. Hewitt, good multi-threat quarterback, local guy from Helena. Absolutely. All right, so let's get into it. Round 2. We're here, Pat. Everybody's playing. All these great teams that we've watched all season long. We've been saying, they're going to get a bye, and they're going to, this team, they get two byes over here. And, here's top 8. But then where are these teams going to play? All this analysis that we've done all season long, all these things that we've talked about, it is finally here. So let's talk about it. The rundown. St. Francis at Grandview. Southeastern is at Keiser. Carroll at Montana Tech. William Penn going to Friends. Campbellsville going to Benedictine. You've got Dordt going to Marian. Indiana Wesleyan against Lindsey Wilson. And Morningside paying a visit to Caldwell, Idaho in the College of Idaho. We'll start with the number 1 seed, Grandview, taking on St. Francis. These two teams formerly in the Mid-States Football Association together, although not a lot of history against one another. Going to be a good one, Pat. Let's look at St. Francis first. Thoughts about the Cougars and them going into this game?
I think St. Francis has weapons. I think they have a tremendous quarterback. I think they have 2 tremendous quarterbacks, really. And I think they have to play extremely well. Can they move the ball with their perimeter players on Grandview? Yes. Can they sustain a great pass rush? I think that's the question, in my opinion. Can USF protect against Grandview? Because I think it has to be one on the perimeter. I don't believe St. Francis. They're going to try, and I think they have to have balance and try to work to have balance against Grandview. But no one, Jason, can sit there and line up and just beat up Grandview. It's not going to happen. Any team in the country at this level can't do it. You have to have some type of balance. You have to big play them at some point, and you have to win on the perimeter at some level. I think Mid-American Nazarene showed glimpses of what you have to do to move the ball against Grandview. You have to win some one-on-ones. You're going to have my guy's better than the Grandview guy every once in a while. You can't do it all the time, but you got to do it enough to have some chances. And you got to big play them to some level. And I think St. Francis has those guys. I do. I think Ajay Danders can do it. I think guy named Crosley McKeechin can do it. And I think Kulka can make the throws. USF's got to protect. They've got to protect well, and I think they've got to mix in enough run game with now Drew Wheat being back and this young freshman who's a heck of a ball player. I think they've got kind of a fire or lightning and thunder type situation. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I was getting at. They've got a nice 1-2 punch type deal that I think got some nice balance. But it's going to be a really well executed game plan for USF. And I think they can do that, certainly. And they've won some big football games. Like you said, Jason, they've been in battles all year. They've been tested and won these games. And they're winning games a lot of different ways right now. And I think they can do that. On the other side of that, defensively, they've improved tackling. I think they certainly have. And I think they're very, very good up front. But guess what? They're going to play the best offensive line they've seen probably all year. I think they're even a little better than Marian, to put it in perspective. Tremendous offensive line and probably the best all-around player they've seen all year in Jackson Waring. So I think the test is going to be, can USF pass protect and can USF stop the best player and the best offensive line? Can they neutralize that great offensive line and running game consistently? That'd be the big thing for me.
No, my whole thing with St. Francis, they've been in tight games this year, and they've been able to pull it out and hang tough. They've got to do that. They can't turn the ball over. If you look at the worst games that St. Francis has played this year, they've turned the ball over. Mm-hmm. Their opponent took advantage of it, and that was the end of the ball game. And if you turn the ball over against Grandview, that's exactly what will happen, and you will be out of a 17-0 game for 3 quarters. I mean, if you turn the ball over in the first quarter, they get a score off of it. They're just gonna sit there, take a finger, and just grind it in that wound for the next 3 quarters. We always talk about the Grandview blowout. 24-0. Oh, it wasn't all that bad. Yeah, it could have been 70-0. They just ground the ball on you the entire time. So going back to USF, they can't turn the ball over, and a little bit of the mechanism for success that Mid-American Nazarene saw is they were able to get a defensive score. They were able to get a pick in a short field and get up early. And those are the sort of things that you have to do in these games. You have to find a way to get a takeaway. You got to find a way to get a good special teams play, and you've got to play clean football on your side. Can't turn the ball over. And I think if USF does that, they'll be competitive in this game. But the problem is you're playing the number 1 team in the country, Grandview University, who, as you've mentioned, has a great offensive line. They've got probably an even more intense defensive line and defense that's going to get after you. And they've got the best player in the country. Those are the things I start off my Grandview analysis with. And I kind of think to myself, well, is there anything else that I need to say? Like, yeah, they got a pretty good running game, good running back here, a couple good wide receivers over here, different guys on the defense. They'll step up and make play. They're just really a complete team, Pat. And if Grandview comes in and they play clean, when Grandview has struggled in games, and we've seen the first half scores that made us go, what's going on there? Yeah, they've had some turnovers. They've turned the ball over. And if the Vikings don't do that, well, it's going to be a long day, I think, for USF. But if they don't play clean, if they don't hold on to the football, if Waring makes an errant pass or ball gets tipped and brought down, USF can be in this game. USF can definitely be in this game against the number one team in the country. But Pat, they're pretty good.
They're real good. But the thing is, they give up 12 points a game this year, Jason. They gave up 6 last year. So they're giving up double the points. So I'm just going to throw it out there.
I mean, and that's the sort of thing when your defensive coordinator gets promoted to head coach. Wow, you'd hate to see that sort of slippage. 6 points to 12.
They're real good. But I will say, Jason, I think USF has weapons. It's got, I think, in the trenches, like you said, and they have to capitalize on mistakes or create mistakes. And Grandview has shown that they've done that. They're not invincible, Jason. I'm not saying that. This is not a task that is completely out of the realm of possibility. I'm not saying that. As a proud USF alum, I'm saying that. It's wishful thinking maybe on my part to some level as well. But we have seen some moments of Grandview going like, hey, what the heck was that, guys? Like, you're better than that. Some sloppy play. It hasn't happened a lot, but it has happened in a team that's been so dominant lately. There are times, Jason, I'm a firm believer this, being a coach that's been around and coming off bye weeks, you can be a little sloppy a little bit off a bye week too. I'm not going to lie to you. And St. Francis just played a game, down the wire and had to be competitive. And they're kind of in playing mode and playing in competitive mode here for a while. They got to take an 8-hour trip and play the best team in the nation. But they're kind of in that mode, and Grandview's coming off a bye week. You never know. I mean, they may be a little sloppy initially. Maybe can St. Francis capitalize on some moments and make this competitive, and you never know what can happen in the end. Throw it out there.
I love the new format of the NAIA Championship Series. I do think the teams that play this last weekend and continue to play, they kind of stay in a rhythm. We've seen some steadiness from teams in the first half coming off that bye. I don't think we'll see that from Grandview, although last year when they came off the bye, they played Friends, and that was their closest game of the entire season. Closest game of the last, tied for the closest game they've had in the last 2 seasons. So, it's definitely possible that Grandview could come out maybe a little flat. Maybe. I don't want to say that because now they'll probably get all juiced up and not come out flat. But the other thing I look forward to here in the postseason, Pat, with Grandview is just a simple fact that, this is Waring's last season. Last year, they kind of waited to the postseason to turn him loose running the football. We saw in the national championship game what he could really do. I think we're going to start to see that. You're going to see a lot more with Jackson Waring, the nation's reigning NAIA Player of the Year. And that's something to look forward to on Saturday.
If I'm USF's football staff, not that I know those guys that well, but I'm kidding. I do, of course. I would probably look at last year's playoff film even more so than this season's film, just how Waring is used, because there is a difference. There really is. I mean, I thought Grandview was brilliant last year and how they kind of held back, and then it's Grandview time, it's playoff time, and now we're unleashing the beast, man. And I thought Jackson Waring, as good a regular season as he had last year, he won the National Player of the Year in the playoffs last year, Jason, because he was the best player in the nation in those 3 games last year. I don't think it was any ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was that tremendous, and especially in the national championship, even though he's already named the National Player of the Year. He upped the ante one more time in the national championship. He was. It's like,
it was like they knew going in the national championship. By the way, he's going to have a game that's going to make everybody go, "Oh, that's why."
Oh,
that's
guy. Why. Yeah, he's pretty
good. The rematch that we have is Southeastern and Keiser playing in the NAIA's second round against one another for the second time this year. Earlier this season, we talked about it. The Fire led Keiser 20-17 in the third quarter or into the fourth quarter before Keiser was able to go up, get a score. I mean, we had a tight game. We had a tight game early on between these two. Going back, I've actually got the box score of that one brought up Just to recap. So 14:04 left in the fourth quarter. That's when Keiser scored to go up 20-17. Then Keiser scored again with 3:44 left in the game to go up 27-17. Then a 41-yard interception return with a $1:59 left to go up 34-17. Southeastern gets a late score to make it 34-23. The final score in that first game that they played. But it was a battle, and Keiser better be ready for it at home. Again, they're coming off a bye. Southeastern has that momentum still going. It'll be a battle between the Seahawks and the Fire come Saturday.
I think the biggest thing, Jason, is in that league the last handful of years, there's not a lot of great belief that people can beat Keiser. I think Southeastern has belief that they can.
Yep.
Because they had such the effort that they did 3 or 4 weeks ago. That they had them within a score, and heck, they had them down for the majority of the game and had them at 3 points in the fourth, and then some things happening, the pick six and all the different things. But they have belief, and that's a great coaching staff and a good group of players that said, guys, let's go back and watch the positive things that we did in that game. Look at all the things that we did. Like there needs to be a belief here. We can go get this done. Here's our game plan. These are the things that we're going to go attack these guys with. And more than even like, okay, these are the plays and these are the things we're going to do. Those are all important, obviously. It's a belief that we can match up with these guys. We can go execute this game plan and beat these guys. And if they have that, I don't think it's out of the realm. I don't. I mean, they've proven it, Jason. I mean, that game the other 2 or 3 weeks ago, you're watching that thing. It's like, oh boy, this is interesting. And then Keiser kind of does Keiser things where they get that score, kick it off, defensive, down to a 3rd and long, throw the pick six, unbelievable return. Now it's a 2-score game, just like that. Just like that happens, then things kind of snowball. That's Keiser football. That's kind of what Grandview, the great programs, find a way to win when they're maybe their backs against the wall a little bit and kind of take over in a tight game. And that's what happened in that game. But if you're Southeastern, you're looking at that and evaluating yourself, say, these are the things that we did well against a great football team. We have to go do that again. We got to play cleaner than we did even in that game. But it's possible because we proved that we can do it.
Yeah, there was 2 turnovers in the game. Both of them were interceptions, thrown by Nate Michael in that game. One less interception. We got a different ball game. So again, and it's cliche, and I say it a lot, but yeah, you go into these big games and you don't turn the ball over, you give yourself a chance. Every time that there's a turnover in one of these big games and you take a possession away or even potentially give up points off that turnover, either directly to the defense or to the offense on the ensuing drive, those are the sort of things that change things around. And that's what changed the game for Southeastern early on. Southeastern ran the ball really well in that first game. Curtis Kimmons had 96 yards rushing. Joquette Giles had 46 yards. Nate Michael had 20 yards. They didn't throw the ball tremendously well. Nate Michael was 4 of 17 for 126 yards and had 2 interceptions. Now, by all accounts, seeing what they did this last week against Reinhardt, they threw the ball a lot better. I don't think that, Southeastern is going to come out and fire 50 passes in this game. I think they're going to be with their bread and butter. They're going to run the football. They're going to do the things they need to do on the ground to be successful. But it would appear that passing game's improved. And I think Michael to Pomales is one that you've got to watch. And then you go to the other side and you just look at what this defense has done. Thomas Ibrahim had 2 or 3 sacks in the first game between the two. He had a big game again yesterday. He's a big force up front. And Southeastern's defensive line and the way that they control the line of scrimmage will be key against Keiser, because we know Keiser's got a big offensive line. They've got some experienced dudes there. They're going to shove you around. And if Southeastern can stand up to that, we're going to have a dogfight on Saturday. We're going to absolutely have a dogfight if Southeastern's able to do those things. Now, with that said, they've got Keiser, the number 2 team in the country, team that went to the national championship last year, team that I was stupid and thought, they're going to slip this year. They did not slip this year. I'll continue to just tell everybody I was wrong, just so they understand. I know, like when I say dumb things, I know I say dumb things. Keiser's looked really good this year, Pat. And they've got a great quarterback in Shea Spencer. They got a stout defense. They got a lot of things going well for them. Give me your thoughts on Keiser coming into this game.
Yeah, really no weaknesses. Again, why it's so important that Southeastern plays incredibly clean. Again, the turnovers, the balance offensively, they have to find that balance. They got to turn Nate Michael loose and use his full complement of talents. And he is a tremendous athlete. And again, the passing game has picked up. His efficiency throwing the ball is a huge, huge thing. Getting hot here late, that's wonderful for them. But he's got to take off, Jason, because he is a true weapon with the ball in his hands running with it. So that's a huge thing. because these guys, Jason, there's not many weaknesses. And I think the world of Shea Spencer, so do you. It's a great start, having a great quarterback, an experienced quarterback, a guy that's accomplished so much in his career at Keiser. And I'm telling you, that guy wants to win a national championship, and they have a bad taste in their mouth in that championship game last year, and they're on a mission, and they are playing great football, winning football, and they're doing things the right way. But this is a good football game. I could see it happening once again because the first one was fantastic, and these are two good football teams, well-coached teams. It's going to be incredibly fast and athletic football game in South Florida.
Yeah, going to be one of the more entertaining ones in the first round of NAIA football. First game they played, Shea Spencer, 19 of 29, 274 yards, a couple touchdowns. Jaden Miller had right at 100 yards. Dylan Simon, 89 yards in this game. That's the recipe for success. You get two backs right around 100 yards for Keiser. You get your quarterback, plays a nice, clean, efficient game, can stretch the field a little bit, not turn the ball over. I mean, that's the key to success for Keiser right there. And then for their defense to continue to step up and play good football. They only give up 15.8 points per game. They got to find a way to hold down that rushing attack of Southeastern. And if they do so, they're going to be successful this coming Saturday. Got to continue to move on. Otherwise, we'll be here till 10 o'clock going through these games, Pat. Do we need to talk about it? Yeah. Montana Tech, Carroll. I mean, I think they've got some history, like 100 years worth of it against one another. This is going to be an awesome one, Pat. I'm being facetious as I talk here, but Butte, America hosting the Carroll College Fighting Saints, the biggest rivalry in NAIA football. I don't care what it like. People can come and say, well, actually, this game over here is playing more games. There is not a more intense rivalry in NAIA football than Montana Tech and Carroll College. They're two very different schools. They're two football programs that have been successful. They're two towns that, I don't want to say Butte hates Helena and Helena hates Butte, but there's a rivalry there just in the community. So that's what makes this game so big. And as we saw one of our commenters earlier say, you throw the records out the window, throw the stats out the window. It's Carroll Tech. Like all the stuff that we've talked about all season long, that Tech does this well and Carroll does this well. You kind of throw that out, Pat, but let's talk about Carroll. What's Carroll got to do to be successful in this game as they go on the road to Butte to play this one?
I think run game is important. Finding balance. I think they found a run game in the second half of the game yesterday, Jason, and I think it was the factor in the game, really, holding on the football and grinding out some drives. They had a 100-yard rusher yesterday. The young man's name escapes me now. I'm sorry. Mitter, thank you. Had a really great second half. They really didn't even try to run a heck of a lot the first half, Jason, if you remember. There wasn't a lot of attempts. I mean, Hewitt took off a few times in the passing game. But I think establishing the run game is an important thing because I think they're balanced with a traditional run game and then Hewitt being the runner as well. So I'll tell you what, Hewitt's an athlete, Jason. The more I watch him, I mean, he's a big, strong, physical guy. I think the design quarterback runs are tremendous when he can do it. And then he can take off, too, in the passing game. When things aren't there, and him taking off, it's good stuff. He's very, very efficient at that as well, and he can make throws. So I think that with Hewitt's ability to throw the football, balance is very, very key for Carroll College because you can't get in third and longs. When Carroll gets in trouble, you saw it against College of Idaho, you saw it against Montana Tech the first time, there's a lot of third and eights and third and nines. I'm just going to tell you, I noticed that when Carroll's playing at 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5, they're in pretty good shape because they have so many different options. They've got great players. You got Sullivan, you got Ochoa, you got all those guys in those intermediate areas. They're really, really good. I think it's tough for them executing 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. I'm going to tell you, it's hard for anybody, obviously. But I think without established running game, a balanced attack, you find yourself in those situations a lot more. And I think that's key for Carroll, offensively.
Nope. I would agree. Offensively, you've got to run the football for success. You've got to keep Hewitt clean. He's going to get a lot of pressure from Montana Tech, and he's got to play a game that's I don't want to say mistake free because nobody plays mistake free, but don't give up that big error. If you throw an interception, have it be at a time in the game that you put your defense in good position to get a stop on the next drive, not giving up a short field to Montana Tech and allowing them to get a score off of a turnover or even a pick six. I think they need to play physical ball up front on the offensive side of the ball. And I think defensively, the thing that the Saints really need to do is they've got to get after Wilson. They've got to get after Jarrett Wilson, get pressure on him, force that young man into mistakes. The first time that these two teams played was the second game of the year, and Montana Tech was still kind of going with a 2-quarterback system. So Jarrett Wilson only threw the ball 10 times. He did throw a touchdown pass. He was 7 for 10 in the first game between these two schools. And he's really matured this year as a quarterback. He's gotten those reps. He's looked better and better. I'm going to be honest, though. The second half of his schedule that he saw, where he was able to get better and better, he was not seeing the competition that he saw those first couple games of the year when they were crossing over against Carroll College, when they're crossing over against Montana Western, when they were playing College of Idaho. Those are playoff level teams right there. Second half of the season, toughest game they had was Dakota State, that they won by 21, 28 points. So there wasn't a lot of pressure put on them. And I think Carroll College has got to do that with their defense. They've got to get after him. They've got to force Wilson to scramble. They've got to force him into mistakes. And ultimately, you got to keep track of where Levi Torgerson is all the time on the field, whether that be punt return, kick return, wherever. Account for that man every time that he is on the field and try to hold him down as a defense. Because if the Saints don't do that, it could be a long day for them. But I feel like Carroll College is playing really good football coming into this week to be super competitive and challenge Montana Tech. Now, the Orediggers, Pat, we've talked about them a lot this year. We've seen them a lot this year. They're undefeated for the first time in their program's history at this moment. They've got a lot of things that they're doing right on the offensive and defensive side of the ball and special teams. I mean, they're playing all three phases of the game great, Pat.
Yeah, they're a good football team all around. I mean, we talked about it. All three phases. They're exceptional. Torgerson's great return game. They have a great kicking game. Strong on defense. They defend the run well. We're talking about efficiency. They run the football. They want to be a running team. Coach Sampson, I know he's no quarterback, but I believe he wants to run the football first and foremost. And I'm really anxious to see what Carroll College's approach defensively is going to be against this round. I think Carroll College certainly is a different team than they were in week 2, Jason, right now. There's 100%. No doubt in my opinion. The confidence, I think their defense has gotten so much better. I think Hewitt's gotten more comfortable. I'm anxious to see what Carroll College, especially from a defensive standpoint, the multiplicity, the pressure schemes, all the things they like to do in the back end. I'm anxious to see what their approach is going to be and how they're going to attack this Ordigger offense, because they got to try to defend the run first and foremost. And I want to see if they're going to load the box up and really put, the passing game, challenge the passing game, say, hey, go beat us, one-on-one. That type of thing. I'm anxious to see if that's going to be their approach, or it's going to be multiplicity like it's kind of been all year against their opponents. Really kind of make, the chess match, if you will, with a lot of different looks. I thought Carroll did a tremendous job throughout the year with that, especially against like a Montana Western, give them a lot of different looks. So I'm anxious to see that approach, the schematics part of that. But Montana Tech doesn't have many weaknesses either, Jason. We talk about these undefeated teams. I mean, they're that way for a reason. They're really, really strong. And Montana Tech, my concern with Montana Tech, have they been challenged in a while? I think the College of Idaho game, Jason, was probably well over 4 or 5 weeks ago. It was a long time ago.
September 27th.
Wow. It's a long time ago. And they have been dominant. And they were really dominant in that game, Jason, until the fourth quarter when College of Idaho really came back and pushed back late. They haven't been challenged in a long time. That's my one concern. You mentioned that last week that, they really haven't been pushed in a long time. And I think Carroll College is going to come out, and obviously it means a lot in a rivalry game, even more so in round 2 of the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's a very good football game. And I think Carroll College is certainly a better and different team than they were in week 2, certainly this time around.
Yeah. Montana Tech, just real quick, so they beat College of Idaho 27-24, then 49-21, 49-7, 51-0, 42-13, 31-7, 41-0. That's great. They're dominant. But they haven't seen a level of talent that would be equal to Carroll College since they saw College of Idaho. So Coach Sampson's going to have to get guys going. They're going to smack themselves in the face a little bit to start this game out and make sure that they're ready to play, because Carroll College is a lot different team than what they were in week 2. It's a rivalry. It's going to be awesome. This is a game that's like popcorn viewing for me. I'm going to be back home in Nebraska for Thanksgiving. I'm going to have this one, up on the big screen in the living room watching it, and my family's going to be like, "What are we doing?" And I'm like, "Go to another room. This TV's mine right now because I'm watching this game." We'll continue to move on again. Otherwise, we'll be here till midnight tonight reviewing these games. Friends playing host to William Penn. These teams have played one another 3 times in the history of their programs. Not played since 1954, though. So kind of throw that out. It's only a snag I could come up with, man. However, I'm just going to state facts that Mark Benavides used to be at Avila, which was in the KCAC. He had them going in the KCAC. At that time, Terry Harrison was at Bethel and had those guys going. So these two coaches have seen one another and have a little bit of history, we'll say. So because of that, that makes this game, kind of exciting from a regional standpoint. William Penn, we talked about him earlier. Pat, great run game. They do a lot of things well. I think Sterling Ramsey in this game, he's kind of the linchpin. I think Destin Loring, he's going to get bottled up a little bit because Friends can defend the run. Friends has got a great run defense. What William Penn has to figure out is offensively, who else can they go to outside of Loring to get them yards and get them points in this game? And I think that starts with Sterling Ramsey, their quarterback.
I totally agree. I think this game's on Ramsey's shoulders to some level. And honestly, they're 2 best players. You got Loring and you've got Ramsey, 2 seniors. That's what you want in a game like this. And I think Coach Benavides wouldn't have it any other way. That's a pretty good deal when your 2 backfield players are seniors and your team leaders and best players. And they have to win with those guys. And I think that's the way their approach needs to be, and it will be. And I'm with you, Jason. Sterling has to find guys down the field. They've got some weapons, Jason. They have some speed guys. There's no doubt. And I think they're going to find some big plays. It's a quick strike. I'm not saying over and over again because you don't want to give the ball back quickly to Friends. Certainly, you got to pick your spots. And again, you're going to have the run game with Loring, certainly. But can you get a play action shot play? Can you get a touchdown? A half, a big play, a half, maybe. A 40 plus yard play, whether it's a touchdown or a big change of field position type play to get yourself in striking distance. Can you create those type of plays? That's a big deal, I think, if you're William Penn. Because I'll tell you what, Jason, I think on the other side of it, defensively for William Penn, this is going to be a tougher matchup than I think people think, because I think William Penn can run. They really can run the back end. I think they can attack from the 3rd level in support against this triple option attack. Now, the schematics are totally different. You've got to sit there. It's discipline. Obviously, it's a whole unique system. But I think at least from an athlete standpoint, they have the guys to run downhill. They're physical. William Penn is not shrinking violets back there of playing safety and attacking and tackling well. And they'll come smack you. I mean, they're not scared of that. So I think that's the key thing of defending triple option. Obviously, you got to bottle up the box, but having the support players from the 3rd level, really playing the alley well. And I think William Penn has those type of guys. So I'm anxious to see that element defending the triple option.
Yeah, I just look at things defensively, and it's very simple for me. If William Penn's going to be successful in this game, they have to find a way to defend the flex bone. And I'm not going to sit here and say, well, on this defensive end from this side, if he gets pressure and, they come up from hey, it's an offense that you haven't seen yet this year. You got to figure out a way to stop it or slow it down or create turnovers. It's pretty straightforward for William Penn, what they have to do on the defensive side of the ball in this game. Friends, on the other hand, Friends has had the bye week. They've played tremendous football. They've played some decent teams this year. They played Evangel, who was a playoff qualifier, beat them 53-0. They played McPherson, who's just out of the playoffs, just barely missed out on the playoffs. They beat a Southwestern team that missed out on the playoffs. And they beat a Kansas Wesleyan team that was right there. They played some pretty good teams, Pat, but you and I have talked about this. I think William Penn is going to be the best team that Friends has faced yet this year. We'll either eat our words on Saturday or we'll be right on Saturday. But I think Friends needs to realize that they've got a pretty good opponent coming their way, and they've got to be prepared on defense to shut down a myriad of things that could be coming at them. And I think it starts with their defensive line play. I think they've got to get pressure. They've got to get pressure in the backfield on Loring. They got to get pressure on Ramsey. And I think that defensive line and the defense in general for Friends, I mean, you see it right there, 10.8 points per game, only giving up 58 yards rushing per game. But they can continue to do that and hold down the rushing attack of William Penn. They're going to be successful if they do that. What are your thoughts on Friends?
Yeah, I think defensively, from Friend's standpoint, they have to create doubt really quickly for William Penn because William Penn's riding high, Jason. They have a lot of confidence, and they should. They played tremendous football this year, just dominated Texas Wesleyan yesterday. So they're coming into Wichita with a lot of confidence. So I think if you're Friends, you got to set the tone really quick with your offense. Obviously, your system there, that's not going to change. That's what it is. And defensively, attack and tackle well, bottle up the run, really put Sterling Ramsey in a tough situation, uncomfortable. I think what you're talking about, pressuring him, things of that nature. I think you got to do that really early for Friends. And then the other side of that, I think the challenge for Friends is I think the matchup. It's a 3-4 defense for William Penn, and they're big inside. So again, there's some double teams there, the big heavy guys inside, and those linebackers and safeties, Jason, they're mobile. They can run. It's a little different than what you're seeing a little bit in the case, more the KCAC, where you've got some big bodies. I think Friends really attacks the down lineman, the 4 down lineman a little bit easier than I think, 4 or 5 linebackers, safeties rolling down into the box. I think it's a little bit more of a challenge in that option system with more second level blocks as opposed to point of attack, first level blocks. Like it's a little more challenging, blocking an odd front. It's a little bit different, and they're big inside, which makes it a little more tough, a little more double teams and things of that nature with some of the option things that they're doing. So could be more of a challenge, a little different. And I do think that third level for William Penn could present some issues because they can tackle. So I'm anxious to see how they're going to line up, how they're going to prepare the assignment-based attack against that option, and how they execute it. Because nobody's done it very well, Jason, as we can tell this year.
No, and I look at Friends' offense. They've got 11 guys that have rushed for over 100 yards on the season, led by probably the most dynamic player in the NAIA, and Kevontae Baker, what he can do with his legs and running this offense and just doing all the things that he's done for the last couple seasons for the Falcons. That's going to pose problems for William Penn. He's great. The problem is after that, they literally have 10 other guys they're going to rotate into 3 positions that all bring something a little bit different, a little different running style. Big bruising back, a slasher back, a guy that's really good on the cutback, a guy that's going to be able to get between guard tackle a little better, a guy that's going to get to the outside a little better. There's just so many different styles that they have to prepare for. William Penn does that. I think that's a huge advantage for Friends, that they're just so deep in the backfield. When you run an offense like this, and you've just kind of got your first string, you've only got your starting quarterback and the 3 guys behind him doing the thing, that can lead to some problems because you get banged up in this. You're going to take a lot of shots. Well, they've got about 3 different levels. It's almost like hockey lines going out there, first line, second line, third line at the running back position. And I think that poses a huge problem for Friends' opponents. We know they're one of the top rushing teams in the country. So there's no doubt what they're going to do on Saturday. It'll just come down to, do they do all the other things that they've done all season in this game? Do they play solid defense and hold their opponent down? And do they hold on to the football and not turn it over?
William Penn. Find Todd Hafner.
Yeah. There you go.
William Penn ran the triple option, Jason.
Yep.
Not long ago.
Yep.
Get a plan, man. And talk to an offensive guy. Holy moly. It's tough. And they run as good as I've seen it, man. Friends is tremendous at it. It's gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it because this is one of those games where I'm excited for it. Really looking forward to seeing how these 2 teams mesh against one another. It could also go very south very quickly too, and be one of those games where you go, "Oh, we thought that'd be a good game." So we'll have to see how that goes. All right, moving on. The Fighting Tigers of Campbellsville go to Benedictine. This is a fun matchup. These 2 haven't ever played one another before. Fighting Tigers going to Atchison, Kansas, which is a great atmosphere on Saturdays for a college football game. A lot of fun things happening in this one. I mean, like if you could put a bow on like what the NAIA Championship Series matchups should look like, this is the one I would say. Tigers, Ravens going up against one another. Both have had tremendous years. Both have got great offenses. Defensive have been really good for Benedictine. Campbellsville's been up and down. It's the sort of thing that I look forward to in postseason matchups with 2 teams that haven't played one another. But yeah, that should be a good one. Your thoughts, Pat?
What Campbellsville's going to show up?
Yeah.
Can they beat Benedictine? Yes, is my opinion. To answer that, yes, they can. No question. they got to play well. They got to play like they did against Lindsey Wilson. They got to play like they did against St. Francis. Yep. We have to have that Campbellsville. We can't have the game they played against Cumberland, Tennessee, or Georgetown.
Yeah,
can't have that Campbellsville because I don't know what that was.
Yeah,
they're too good, in my opinion, Jason. This should be a top 6 or 7 team. I said 6 and 7 again, by the way. Been when they caught last week. Sorry, I have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. I bet him I wouldn't say it 6-7. I did it. I think they're a top 6 or 7 team in the country. Talent on paper, in my opinion, they are. But they have their moments like, well, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
But at the same time, they put a good game plan together. They travel well, no distractions, go out and play their top form. They can absolutely go beat Benedictine, in my opinion. This could be a hell of a game. At the same time, if Benedictine goes and beats them by 3 touchdowns, I wouldn't be surprised because I don't know what we're getting, just because we've seen both sides of it. Campbellsville's good enough to win, but what are we going to get?
Yep. I would agree with you. Campbellsville's a team that I think offensively probably going to move the ball. They're going to score some points. Mm-hmm. Defensively, are they going to be able to slow down what Jackson Dooley and the entire crew for the Benedictine offense can do? Xavier Ugorgi running the football, Tanner Zimmerman at the tight end position, Titan Osborne at the wide receiver position. Like, are they going to be able to hold those guys down? Because this is not one of those games where I feel like Campbellsville is just going to be able to go outscore their opponent like they did so many times this year. They're going to have to get some stops on defense. And if their defense comes ready to play on Saturday, they're definitely going to have a chance. Now, Benedictine at home, and given where their seed is, they'll host this week. And then that might be it then. So this is a very good team that this might be the only game they get at home in the NAIA Championship Series. And I think it's one that they want to go and they want to show out and they want to get that big W because it might be the last time that they get to play in front of their home crowd. I think the Ravens, what they do offensively is very efficient, very balanced. You can see the numbers there, 236 rush, 264 pass. Dooley is a great quarterback, a great leader. We've seen it from them this year. Their defense has played very well, holding opponents to 16.8 points per game, a little bit better on the run than on the pass, as you can see. I like the Ravens at home. I think this is a game where the first half is going to look different than the second half. And I say that to say I think Campbellsville gets off the bus well. I think they come out firing on all cylinders. I think they're able to score some points in the first half. I think Benedictine scores as well. But there's going to be that halftime moment where it's like, okay, Benedictine's going to come out third quarter, fourth quarter, and you're going to see that game go from a 17-14 at halftime to 35-21, 42-28 sort of game. And in watching the second half, you kind of see like, okay, that's why the Ravens are the number 5 seed. They're number 3 team in the country. Like they still want to get back to the national semifinals and avenge that loss they had against Keiser last year.
I think there's a huge advantage that this game is in Atchison.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I think it's absolutely huge. I'll be honest with you, Jason, just in my experience of 20 years, this is the toughest week to travel. The distraction of the holiday, I think it's really challenging. And this is a long trip, and I think Benedictine hosting is a huge, huge deal. I think, Jason, is this the best team that we haven't talked a lot about lately? Because they just kind of just kicked the crap out of their schedule and just it's been what it is.
We kind of talked about them in the fact like, oh, they got a big game against Baker. Oh, they got a big game against Mid-American Nazarene. And then it was like when we go to like recap it, it's like, yeah, they won that game.
Blowout. Yeah. So they're a great football team. They're incredibly efficient. They're well coached. But they're just a team you just don't have to talk a lot about because they do what they do. And I think, like we talked about with Keiser, like we've talked about with Grandview, it's their time. It's playoff time, home playoff game in Atchison on Thanksgiving weekend. It's their time. It's Raven football time. I expect them to come out extremely efficient. Like you said, maybe a feeling out process against Campbellsville and then really turn things on the second half. And I think it's a huge advantage being at home.
Yeah, I think playing with a little chip right there that they were number 3 the entire season, ended up being the number 5 seed. I think they want to go out and show some people that we were number 3 for a reason for most of the season. Another one Two teams that have never played one another, two contrasting styles in football a little bit, two conferences that have played very good football over the last couple of years. The Dordt Defenders and the Marian Knights. Just get out the swords and let's joust in this one, baby. As we're going to have a lot of armor apparently at the game. No, I mean, this is a game that gets me excited because we get to see two teams playing one another from conferences that never play one another in the NAIA postseason. So, Dordt is a team that was really firing on all cylinders. Everything was going right for them until that final week against Morningside, where they lose in overtime and end up sharing the conference title in the Great Plains Athletic Conference. So this is one of the few teams coming into the NAIA Championship Series coming off of a loss. How do the defenders respond? What are your thoughts on Dordt, Pat?
They play extremely well in defense. I guess the key thing in this game, I'll be honest with you, I think Marian's going to defend that spread option pretty well because Marian plays Taylor. It's the same stuff.
Yep.
So I think Marian's going to defend it pretty well. That's not going to be a problem for Marian, in my opinion. I think they'll match up well in that regard. I think Dordt has got to be and defend very well. And it's the old cliche, defenders. Yeah, they got to defend very, very well and tackle Keegan LaBelle and put Marian, Tristan Polk, long yard situations and pressure him as much as possible. He's gotten better and better throughout the year. So make him uncomfortable. And it starts with that defense. They've got to be very, very good in this game, Jason.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. They've got to defend well. They've got to be efficient in the pass. There's times this year that Dordt has thrown the ball very well. I think they're going to have to do that. I think that defensive line for Marian is going to limit their ability to run. I'm not saying they're going to completely shut them down because Dort's got a really nice rushing attack. But some of those big plays that you get for 11, 15, 17 yards, those are going to stop at 7. You're going to get 3 and 4 yards. So you're going to get into those situations like we talked about earlier in the Carroll game where you're going to be 3rd and 8 and you're going to have to do something with it. Otherwise, you're going to be going 3 and out and giving the ball back to Marian, who's got an incredibly efficient offense. The Marian Knights, we've talked about them quite a bit this year as well and what they've been able to do after their season opening loss to a D2 postseason qualifier. They've been undefeated. They've been undefeated against NAIA competition. They beat a very good St. Francis team that's obviously in the postseason. They beat Indiana Wesleyan, who's in the postseason. Marian has done all the things right, but maybe a little bit like Benedictine is a team that maybe isn't getting some of that national credit, that national respect that they deserve. And honestly, I think Ted Kerr's probably fine with that. So go ahead, disrespect us, forget about us. We're just going to go out and play the way that we know how to play. We're going to go out and we're going to play high octane football on offense, and we're going to get in your face on defense and frustrate you. What are your thoughts on Marian, Pat?
Yeah, and they're another team, Jason, that are really, really difficult to play in Indianapolis. Very, very good at home. Very, very good. Believe me, from great experience. Tough to play there. And they are very good defending, St. Vincent Field. So it can be a challenge for the defenders to go into Indianapolis and play Marian on Thanksgiving weekend. I think they're a very good football team, and that's a great comparison to Benedictine. And this team has gone undefeated. By the way, UND blew out Truman State in round 1 of the Division II playoffs yesterday. Yeah. So they're a really good Division II team, like making a splash in Division II playoffs. So, that's the only loss that Marian has had to their Division II, crosstown, school. So Marian's a good football team. Marian's going to make a deep run, I believe, and I think they win this game, in my opinion, and make some noise deep in the playoffs. I guess it's a very, very good football team who have really had some huge, huge wins this year, and it's just kind of somehow flown on the radar at some level. But it's a good football team.
Yep. Defenders got to get off the bus on Saturday. They got to come ready to play in Indianapolis. They can't turn the ball over, and they've got to find a way to make their passing game efficient if they're going to be good against Marian, because otherwise all the things that you just said about Marian, Keegan LaBelle, Tristan Polk, all the different all the things that Marian has got, those will just start to continue to rise and rise and rise. And, Marian could really show out in this game because I think they're a team that wants to make a deep run. Did get a question here. Why did the committee stop the natural bracket at this matchup? 6 should play 11. I kind of thought that would happen and we would see a rematch between Marian and Indiana Wesleyan because we are seeing a rematch of Carroll and Tech, and we are seeing a rematch of Southeastern and Keiser. So it's kind of the rematch round. This is the only one that could have been a rematch that isn't. Now, the only reason I could see is maybe mileage to Lindsey Wilson for Dordt. Maybe that becomes an issue there. But to be honest with you, Eric, I'm not on the committee, man. I don't. That's the only thing I could think of is they went, well, it's a lot of miles for Dordt to go all the way to Lindsey Wilson, so we'll send him to Indianapolis, which is slightly shorter, I guess, and then avoid the matchup. And maybe they're thinking that as we roll on, maybe the committee is thinking, well, we kind of feel like Lindsey Wilson will win this game, and that will eliminate the possibility of a rematch. Otherwise, if Indiana Wesleyan wins this game and Marian wins, you can bet your bottom dollar that those two will probably be facing one another in the next round. So we move on to this one, Indiana Wesleyan at Lindsey Wilson. We can see the ball getting up and down the field in this one, Pat.
What's the over-under, Vegas? Oh, I'm going to say
72. I'd say 72.
Yeah, I'd say high.
It could be a lot of points, man.
Dude, I mean, it's going to be – board's going to be lit up.
Yeah.
No doubt. Hopefully weather's decent. It's going to be up and down the field. There's no doubt. I mean, these great offenses.
I mean this with love. I've had more than one Indiana Wesleyan fan point out the fact to me that Indiana Wesleyan has not allowed a sack all year. That is a great statistic. That's tremendous by your offensive line. But the reason is they get the ball out every 3 seconds. Like it's go, it's quick. There's not a lot of times where Lothe is standing in the pocket for 7 seconds and getting 7 seconds of protection. So great statistic, and that's very impressive. And it might continue to happen this week. I think Indiana Wesleyan, the key to their success, to get into that a little bit, will be their ability to get the ball out fast, get up and down the field fast, establish a running game, and not turn the ball over. I mean, I think to say like, and I don't mean this derogatory, but like to say like, well, Indiana Wesleyan's defense has got to step up and shut down Lindsey Wilson. I don't think defense is going to happen in this game.
Nope. It's going to be first one to 42.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. I mean, it's going to be something like that. It's going to be 49-42. What you think? I do.
Oh, I would agree. You look at Lindsey Wilson. I mean, they're putting up 43 points a game. Their defense is a little better. And that's where I think Lindsey Wilson has the advantage. I think Lindsey Wilson can force some turnovers. I think they can get the ball and take some possessions away from Indiana Wesleyan. And I think Lindsey Wilson, ultimately gets the win in this one. I think Lindsey's playing really good ball. They run it really well. They throw it really well. If they avoid the turnover bug, playing this game at home, I feel like they're probably the team that's going to get the win. Their defense, I think, holds Indiana Wesleyan a little bit. So probably looking at like a 49-31 game. Does that get me to my over?
Yeah, it's 72.
I said that puts me under that.
Yeah.
Puts me over that. Bad math.
I said 68, I think. Is that what I said?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Lindsey Wilson is going to have times. I mean, they're going to take their shots, but I think the difference is, I mean, again, they're both big RPO teams. I'm not saying they're not. I will say, again, it's the Morningside system with Indiana Wesleyan. It's a lot of quick game RPO, perimeter RPOs. So it's not so much reading one defender and throwing it into the second level. It's more on the perimeter. So it's a lot of the quick game and stuff like that outside. Why they're not taking sacks. The ball gets out so quick, like you mentioned. The thing about Lindsey Wilson, I think they're more apt to methodically grind out drives and maybe hold on to it a little longer. I think that may at least maybe take a possession away, potentially, or two away from Indiana Wesleyan getting a score. You know what I mean? You follow me? Like they're just going to shorten the game
100%.
enough to not give Indiana Wesleyan the ball back so many times. Where it's like, Lindsey Wilson, I'm getting bored. I want to take a shot here, but like, you know what? Hold on to it. Let's grind it a little bit. Let's be methodical. Let's run our mesh concept. It's a controlled pass concept. Let's run some screens. Let's mix in our run game and bootlegs. Let's not just take our shots and try to outscore them. You know what I mean? So I think that may serve the Blue Raiders well. And again, I agree with you in that I think they have probably a bit more playmaking on defense to create a turnover or two. They can just steal a possession and win the game. That's what I think is going to happen in a high-scoring game.
Yeah. No, here's what and you alluded to it perfectly there, and I think a good example of is that we get into the second quarter, and it's 17-14. Indiana Wesleyan scores their second touchdown, make it 17-14, and Lindsey Wilson gets the ball back with 8 minutes and 30 seconds left in the second quarter. Lindsey Wilson has the ability with Tay Saunders and their running game to grind that 8:30 out, score before half, get it back to start the second half. And then, extend that lead from being a 3-point lead. Now it's 24-14. Now we get that possession in the third quarter. Okay, now it's 31-14 because they can grind the ball out. And I think that's the real strength of Lindsey Wilson's offense. And again, defensively, they got some playmakers over there, Rankins, and a ton of guys over there that can get it done. So, but it could be a very entertaining, high-scoring game.
Yes.
The last one on the schedule. Two coaches, I feel like, not, and this take away from nothing from the coaches that we've talked about so far. Two are coaches I've just really got a lot of respect for, and Mike Morawski and Steve Ryan. I don't know if those two guys have met before, but I feel like they're it's kind of one of those, like, I think you guys could get along. You got very similar programs, the way that you've built things and the way that you methodically go about building your program and developing your kids and I think all that's great. With that said, this is a great matchup, man. Morningside can go out there, they can sling it, they can run the ball a little bit. The Yotes have got dual threat quarterback, a running game that's vastly improved this year, a defense that has stepped up. This could be a great one in Caldwell, Idaho.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because you have the blue blood, you have the program that has had such sustained success for 20 plus years with Coach Ryan and that staff. They've been there, and I mean, it's incredible, really, what they've done, that sustained success. And then you have this newer program that's been on this rise, this trajectory for some time. So it's really an interesting matchup in that regard. Played in Caldwell, Idaho, which I think is really cool too. And I think the Mustangs are taking the flight this week out to Idaho for this game. So it's going to be a really interesting matchup. I'm incredibly interested in how Zach Chevalier is going to play, because I think that is the key. I think the Mustangs are going to show up on defense, Jason. I think they're going to play a great game plan. They're going to tackle well. They're going to put Coach Morawski's offense, which is tremendous. I really think the world of that Coyote offense, and they've gotten better and better throughout the year. It's a broken record. We said it all year. They've gotten better and better and playing great football right now. But I think the Mustangs will have a great plan defensively in how they're going to attack that offense. I think I hate to put it on Zach Chevalier, but I think it really is, Jason, how efficient he can be in taking care of the ball and run the Steve Ryan system that it's been so successful for so many years. And now you're seeing another program, Indiana Wesleyan, move the football up and down the field, the same system. It's how he plays, I think, is crucial, because they have unbelievable weapons. Drew Selland, and they have all these guys, Lennox Brown, just they have guys all over the place. But how he distributes and how he makes decisions are going to be key. So I think, the Yotes defense and their approach and their playmaking ability is going to be key on the other side of it. But it's going to be a very, very tactical game, and an execution game is what it's all about, I think, especially in the quarterback position for the Mustangs.
Yeah, and I echo everything that you say. And you say, I hate to put it on the kid. Well, it's got to be on the kid. With Morningside success, when they are good, competing for national championships, their quarterback's super efficient. He doesn't turn the ball over. He distributes the ball well, and he does all those things that you want to see. And when Morningside has been really good this year, that is this Zach Chevalier that shows up on Saturday. When Morningside has struggled, he's had turnovers. He's had questionable decisions throwing the football. He's got to stay away from doing that against College of Idaho. And a kid like Drew Selland, needs to continue to be his number one target. He was Great Plains Athletic Conference Player of the Year for a reason, because he's probably one of the best wide receivers in the country. And that's a nice little ace in your hole. But you also got to be sure that you're not forcing it to them, because College of Idaho is going to be very aware of this Morningside offense, and their defense has stepped up this year. Their defense only allowing 14.9 points per game. We've kind of seen College of Idaho the last couple of years go from this super sexy, high-scoring offense to an efficient offense that runs and throws it well, but that defense has stepped up, and the defense has been key for them in big games this year. They've played well. Their only loss has been to Montana Tech, who's the number 3 seed in the NAIA Football Championship Series. Otherwise, College of Idaho has beaten everybody else on their schedule. They've done it with their defense playing well, forcing turnovers, and the offense being super efficient, dual threat, running the football, and throwing it pretty well as well.
You nailed it. Very methodical approach offensively. They're big and physical. They have big tight ends, big offensive linemen. Like you said, the
really nice wide receivers too.
Yeah, they do.
Mariano.
I always mess his name up. Yeah, he's a playmaker.
I do too. I'm sorry, dude. I say your name wrong all the time. We're talking about you.
And I think everyone that calls the games do too, other than the College of Idaho guys. The road guys definitely say his name.
Yeah.
But he's a big physical guy. I love his he goes up, attacks the football. And he's like the identity of that offense, just physical. Like everything they do is physical. And it's like, yeah, they're no huddle, but Coach Morosky's system, it's like they're very methodical and calculating how they want to attack, what they want to do. So I know Coach Jacobson and staff, the defensive staff, the Stangs have got their hands full with a physical, efficient offense. And again, the big challenge, I think, is going to be the Mustang offense against this great defense because they have been so good this year. And again, this team, Jason, has just gotten better all year. And proof being how they dominated Carroll College 3 weeks ago. I mean, that was just an absolute domination and had, that great offense in third and long all day because they stopped the run, really put pressure on, Hewitt and that Carroll offense. And it started, to me, that's when you said, okay, College of Idaho is for real. This is a really good football team. Yeah, they played Montana Tech well, but you started seeing them win and dominate games defensively like that. Yeah, this is a really good football team. And this is going to be a challenge for the Mustangs, no doubt.
Yeah, I think the key to this game, Morningside needs to not turn the ball over. Chevalier's got to make good decisions for them to be successful. College of Idaho has to be able to run the football because even though they are, a balanced team, as you can see here, 204 in the run, 192 in the pass, when they've struggled at times this year, it's because that running game wasn't there. And if Morningside can, put up a front, stop the rush a little bit, I think they'll be able to hold College of Idaho close. This is probably the toughest game for me to pick. I would
agree.
I could say in our conversation, I have flipped back and forth 6 different times. This is a tough game. So in these tough games, I usually end up going, with the home team, College of Idaho, which going back to a theme that we have talked about, Pat, throughout this season, home field advantage in the playoffs is so critical. And that proved to be critical in the first round. 4-0 were the home teams. The second round, usually we get an upset. Usually we get maybe 1 or 2. That game we just talked about, College of Idaho and Morningside, is the one that has me going a little bit there. The other ones, and the predictions, potential upsets, best game, that's what we're going through now. I don't see Grandview losing. I don't see Keiser losing. Montana Tech Carroll has me worried a little bit just because of I think Montana Tech will win, but that one, my confidence level is never great in that game. I think Friends wins. I think Benedictine wins. Going by seeds here now. Marian wins. Lindsey Wilson wins. Who am I missing?
And you got the last one, the College of Idaho.
College of Idaho, right? Yeah. Yeah. Because anyway.
All home teams again?
If I have to pick a home team getting upset, it's probably College of Idaho first. Do you have one, or do you think it's all home teams?
Oh boy. Here is, and I'm gonna. This is gonna be on a high.
And my confidence level in that is like 30%.
Yeah,
like I'm still very much on the home teams here.
I am too, because I'll say this, and I'm going to say this, and for this reason, and this is just purely from experience. I think if a team can win on the road on Thanksgiving weekend, it's usually a veteran staff that knows how to do it, meaning limit distraction, knows how to travel efficient. I think it's Morningside.
They did it last year against Montana Western. Wasn't that this weekend that they played?
Yeah. They fly out there. They're efficient. It's the holiday. They've been, again, the experience is there. That hits me, not taking away from College of Idaho. I mean, it could easily go the other way too. I mean, to me, it's a coin flip game, very much so. But I think that's the one that could be potentially, at least on paper, an upset. I'll be honest with you. I am not real betting a game that the two teams that to me have been so dominant that latter part of the year and haven't been challenged on in a while, I'm a little nervous about.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking Friends right now, because Friends is kind of their own animal to some level. To me, it's Montana Tech and it's Benedictine. Those are two have not been challenged in some time that I think may get tested a little bit. And like you said, maybe it's a first half thing where it's like they may even be down at half and maybe come back and win a game in the second half. but I think they're going to be really challenged. Like you said, Montana Tech hasn't been behind all year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
well,
like
3 points for like 10 seconds.
Okay, whatever. And
Yeah.
and I don't know Carroll. I don't think Carroll can win the national championship. That's just my opinion. I think they're a really great team. I mean, I think they're awesome. I think they're on the rise. I don't think they can knock off the next 3 weeks. I just don't see that happening. The top end teams, they're a really good team. I think that. At the same time, they're going to come in punching, man. They're going to come in throwing haymakers in Butte. There's no doubt. Obviously, rivalry game round to the playoffs. I mean, is this the biggest matchup maybe in the history of these programs? I don't know. This matchup in the playoff. I mean, I don't know. Let's go back and put you on the spot, obviously. But
it's been a while. It's definitely been a while.
It just strikes me, and I love Montana Tech. I mean, I've sung their praises as much as anybody early season, but they just haven't been challenged in a long time, Jason. That's my concern. Being there and doing it, and I've been fortunate to be part of like undefeated teams and all that. And that's a real thing where you've not been challenged for 4 or 5 weeks seriously, and now you're in a postseason play, and it's like now I'm playing a playoff level opponent. It's like, whoa, it takes a little bit to get back to that level. It does. So I'm a little concerned for some of those teams that have not played, really, really competitive teams in some time. I think there's something to that. And coming off the bye, too, I think there's something to that as well. You got Thanksgiving distraction. Even though you're at home, guess what? All the families are coming in, or the kids are going home for Thanksgiving dinner, then racing back on Friday night for meetings and Saturday morning. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of distractions. Sometimes even, like I said, that's why I like Steve Ryan in this situation, maybe keeping his guys all together and kind of doing things, veteran staff going on the road. I don't know. It's kind of
I'm with you, man, and I think there's been a couple coaches that have done it. We need to wrap up because we've gone long here, and I can hear a baby crying upstairs. The thing that gets me, and I've heard a couple different coaches that have done it, even though that they're hosting, like, hey, it's game week, we're staying here, we're doing Thanksgiving dinner at the school, you're not leaving, we're not going to run a risk of somebody getting a car accident on the way home, somebody not being able to make it back, run out of gas, and an added distraction. I think the home teams that kind of do that and say, hey, we know Thanksgiving's important, you're going to have 70 Thanksgivings in your life, but you get to play football on one for sure, and that's the one this week. So let's stay here, let's play football. I mean, hell, that's what Thanksgiving I think was for every kid growing up. Go home for Thanksgiving, get your cousins together, go play football in the backyard. If you were us, occasionally you'd get snow, you'd go and you'd love snow because then you could actually like make lines and put a football field in the backfield, or backyard, back 40 if you're me. But I just look at this week being so many tremendous games, Pat. It's a tough week to play. It's a tough week to travel, but it's awesome that you get to play football, man.
Saturday's always great. The week of is awful.
Yeah.
The practice distractions, the details, like you said. Like, I will tell you, we did a lot of different ways, and we were fortunate to be in a lot of playoffs in my time at St. Francis from 04 to 22. A lot of times I was there. And we did a lot of different ways. Guys go home, come back on Friday. Guys, everybody's staying here. Your moms and dads are coming here. We're going to throw a team dinner together at an off-campus facility, potluck deal. We're going to have, 40 turkeys smoked or whatever, and everybody will bring a potluck thing. And we've done that before, and that's honestly the best thing we ever did because got everybody together. It was a team building type thing. That was really special. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but try to limit distraction as much as possible is crucial because that's all it is. All week is distraction. All it is. Yep. And William Penn's got probably the biggest challenge of all because guess what you have to do? Find Coach Hafner. Have him run the scout team.
I don't know, man. I don't know if that's going to work.
He's already thought of this. I know Coach Benavides has already thought of this. He's calling Todd Hafner. Guaranteed. I mean, scout team.
Well, he faced it, every year that when he was in the KCAC as a coach.
Absolutely.
So he's, good staff there, and they'll be ready for it.
Oh, I know they will.
All right, man. We've gone an hour and a half. I thought we'd only do an hour tonight. Appreciate everybody. Not a chance. Too much postseason football to talk about. With that said, anything to add before we wrap things up, sir?
No, it's gonna be great. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. It is a great time. Man, is there a better holiday than Thanksgiving? My two favorite, Jason, Thanksgiving and St. Patty's Day. Those are my two favorites. So
yeah, get to eat a bunch of food and have a few drinks here. There, football, baby.
I got hockey this weekend. I'm literally leaving Thanksgiving night for a hockey tournament in Detroit, Jason. You believe that?
I will be back in the great state of Nebraska, driving back on Wednesday. Going to spend the weekend with the parents and give them a chance to see their granddaughter that they haven't seen for a couple months here. So we're going to do that whole thing. So
safe travel.
All right. He is Pat Donnelly. I'm Jason Dannelly. This has been NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. Go ahead and check us out on victorysportsnetwork.com. Tell your friends, subscribe to all that, and get on out there this week and watch some great NAIA football. We'll see you next Sunday night, folks. Later.